Apex Legends Season 9 had yet another disastrous start. At first it was impossible to connect to any of the game servers for several hours after the update went live. Then it was possible to connect, but no progression was stored or read by the servers. This meant that players had no unlocks, and that includes any unlockable characters, as well as skins, etc. Everyone was basically a fresh player. Another bad thing was that whatever experience you made within those first hours was pretty much lost for the majority of people. You would think that a company as large as EA would have enough money to rent decent servers in sufficient amounts for them to support all of its player base, especially if we're talking about a game that annually brings in over 300 million euro. Within the next days, the moderators in the forums would keep telling everyone that the problems were only temporary and that they have all been fixed, while many players such as myself would still get errors when trying to even start the game. It took them 4 days to make sure that the game will reliably start for most people. Unfortunately, that would simply not be enough, because as we know, when EA fixes one thing, they break 5 in its place. So now the servers would start, but all the new problems would still plague them. Let's start with our good old friend, the slow motion server. This footage is not edited in any way. If you pay attention, you will soon notice that everyone moves in slow motion. I see this as a variation of lag, but at least it's a bit more fairly distributed since everyone is suffering from it simultaneously. You have to understand that I usually play in one resolution and record in another, so whenever I do decide to record, I have to change things and set everything up before actually playing the game. I can't just spontaneously start recording. I'm only telling you this so that you can see how common the problems are if I'm able to record them when I usually only record on 1 or 2 evenings of each season. And we're talking maybe 1 hour per evening since I don't need that much footage. Naturally, EA cannot be bothered to address some major issues this game has had since release, such as, for example, the terrible voice over IP servers. Most of the time, if you try using the in-game voice chat, the sound quality will be so terrible that you won't be understood by anyone, and the same counts for them. In a game such as Apex, where communication is everything, they still refuse to provide the most basic VoIP quality in order to ensure that the voice chat works well. Sometimes you may get lucky and end up playing in a squad with people whose physical location is really close to yours or that of the server, and then you can talk and hear well, but those cases are ridiculously rare. Then of course you have the random lags and crashes. These will happen for no reason and usually exactly when it's most inconvenient. But what did impress me was the fact that they've somehow managed to add new problems to the game's pot of issues. Since the beginning of Season 9, I have had several games where the minimap would just never appear. Sadly, I could not record it, but just imagine my minimap from this footage is gone, and you know what I mean. It's pretty bad. It has been happening to other people as well, but luckily I now know that this is just another temporary random bug and can always reassure them that it will be their next game. Let's talk about the changes that Season 9 introduced to the game. First and foremost, let's start with the new character, Valkyrie. My initial fears were that she will be another Horizon and end up breaking the balance of the game. Horizon was insanely overpowered, and it took many nerves to get her in a place where she's now fairer to fight against. Luckily, Valkyrie was designed much better. Naturally, she did have her issues, such as the ability to fly high for incredibly long times by exploiting her tactical ability aim function, but they patched that out fairly quickly. Even so, she can't really do anything outside of set tactical while in the air, so her skill comes with a high amount of risk attached to it. She's surprisingly well designed around the idea of supporting her team and can be effective when alone, but also really helpful for her teammates. All in all, we ended up getting a well-balanced character who fits within the game. People still play her a lot due to her incredible mobility and powerful rocket barrage skill, but whenever you face her, it doesn't feel cheap or unfair. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Valkyrie is a lesbian. It was super important for us to know that. So important in fact that we knew it way before we knew of her skills, voice, or even appearance. After all, it's incredibly important to know that this mass of pixels made to look like a woman is attracted to other pixel groups which are also made to look like women. So now we have Gibraltar who's gay, Valkyrie who's a lesbian, and Bloodhound who doesn't know what he is. I sure hope that this covers everything and we can finally be allowed to enjoy the game without political undertones of any kind, but sadly I know that will not happen. The latest trend is to spam the player with stupid badges about political, ideological, and other movements. We got a Black Lives Matter badge, a Stop Asian Hate badge, and now even the gay badge. I find this especially annoying for several reasons. Not only are they shoving this political trash our way, but they are also doing it to everyone equally. The majority of Apex Legends players are in fact not from North America. The political ideas behind these badges and slogans are, however, strictly speaking, US problems. Here in Europe, all lives are equal. We don't have any issues with any specific group being attacked or let alone shot. We don't need anyone to give us a badge which supposedly reminds us that we shouldn't kill blacks, Asians, gays, or whichever group is next on their agenda. We knew that already. It's the hypocrisy of it all that I find especially annoying. Oh, and by the way, just for the sake of argument, let's imagine there was a badge about duck lives. Let's call it Duck Lives Matter. How much do you think that someone who, for whatever stupid reason, is hating ducks with a passion would be affected by seeing another player having this badge in the game? Do you think that the duck hater will suddenly receive an epiphany and decide that ducks are actually pretty cool and he's in the wrong for hating them? Me neither. These badges are just political correctness shoved down our throats. Instead of wasting resources on making shitty political propaganda, how about redirecting them towards a solution to one of the game's many problems? Gaming used to be a sanctuary from all of these things, but over time it seems it has been poisoned by politics as much as anything else, and it saddens, but above all disappoints me. I've been reading the forums and a lot of people report being permanently banned for absurd reasons. One guy reports that he was literally banned for writing WTF. At first I assumed that there must be something he isn't telling us, but then I got banned for a week for calling a guy retard due to the fact that he was sabotaging the whole team from the start of the game by taking loot we needed and dropping it off the map, and then once I got killed he took my stuff from my dev box. That was the only instance when I wrote "stop taking my stuff, retard." Apparently, I was using hate speech and had to be punished harshly and threatened that next time it will be a permanent ban. When I appealed to have this ban removed, since it was obviously not hate speech, instead it's a boring insult at worst and a fully deserved one at that, the answer I got at first was that processing my appeal will take a month, which makes no sense since the ban is for a week. But the worst part was the fact that after a month I just got an answer stating that the decision was correct and it was in fact hate speech. A good friend of mine got permanently banned for using the same word. I saw the email they wrote him. It really stated that he called a guy a retard and he's being permanently banned. He had 2 heirloom weapons and has lost his ability to play any online games on his origin for calling someone a retard once. This goes to show you what absurd world we live in. Every game is now a kindergarten, and even if someone deserves it, you cannot say anything. But look at this footage here. You know how often I end up encountering cheaters? These guys beat the system constantly, but clearly saying something mean to someone who acts like an asshole is a lot more important and needs to be punished harshly. And while things like making a new account in order to play against weak and inexperienced players is also against the rule, you see streamers do it constantly, the same people whose main accounts can be identified by just watching one of their videos, yet they remain unpunished for it. Make no mistake, these guys are fully aware of the fact that what they are doing is both against the rules and unfair, since they just go and harass the genuine new players, making this game feel unfair to them and basically ruining their fun for their own personal satisfaction. And I will allow myself to quote one of them when he said, "pounding the noobs so that they get good." But again, these guys gather a crowd and advertise the game, so the rules apparently don't apply to them. I'd say that the rules are biased, but they're intentionally obscured anyway. Go ahead and check the terms of service and you will see that there are no specific durations for anything. Effectively, how much anyone gets for any rule violation depends on the mood swings of whoever gets to enforce them on that day. And as we have seen with my example, the interpretations of what is an insult, what is hate speech, etc. all depends on how the arbiter feels on that day and not on what these words actually mean. But Season 9 brought a few other changes still. First of all, the triple take is now a drop weapon, while the Peacekeeper is out once more. But they went even further by introducing a marksman class for certain weapons. The most important thing about them is that they can't use sniper optics. The triple take is classified as such. As a person who used to main that gun, I am sad to say that it's been crippled. The stats of the weapon were increased insignificantly, meaning that it doesn't feel any better than it was, but its utility has been decreased substantially since you cannot use sniper optics anymore. So now it's really useful at the end of the game when the fighting range is reduced by the ring. The thing is, this is also when the Kraber spawns, which is a far superior weapon in every way, making the triple take a very rare pick at this point. As for the Peacekeeper, it's now a second-rate weapon, along with all shotguns which are not called EVA 8. If you've played the game recently, you will have noticed that suddenly everyone seems to be carrying an EVA 8 since it's so much better than any other shotgun and it's made them all obsolete. A nerf is badly needed here. The newest weapon in the roster is the Bowcheck compound bow. This weapon is the reason why the new marksman class was introduced in the first place. It's a great choice for those players who want something more precise at medium range but don't really enjoy sniper rifles. They released it way too overpowered, so several nerfs were made to it, but I feel that it's still a bit too strong. And now to the new game mode, the arenas. Some people like them, some don't. I'm in the latter group. I play Apex for the Battle Royale. The problem with the arenas is that the players are being forced to play them with special arena events and daily quests. Oftentimes I will get at least 2 arena quests for the day and only one switch is free, so I have to use up some red points in order to flip those quests into Battle Royale quests. The newer players don't have that choice since they need the red points to unlock characters. So that's where the being forced part, which I had mentioned, comes in. And yes, they could just not do all of the daily quests, but that's just a waste since the battle pass almost makes it obligatory if you want to reach the end by the end of the season, unless you play the game all day, every day. So you have to do daily quests. Some arena maps are designed for that specific game mode, but others are just a small section of an actual map and really don't work well due to that. There's been a huge problem with incomplete teams as well, leading to one squad having 3 players while the other may have 2 or even a single person. It's neither fair nor is it fun for any of the participants. What the arena does is separate the game lobbies even more, causing longer queue times between games due to the diluted player base. The introduced lever penalties in the arenas were removed and then reinstated again. It seems nobody knows what the plan is here. People are even speaking about having arena ranked, which I hope never comes to pass. Not because I am against people having fun, but rather due to the fact that it will lead to even longer waiting times and amplify all of the problems related to having a teammate leave. You really don't want people getting free wins and points for nothing, nor do you want people to get punished for being left alone by bad teammates. All in all, Season 9 gave us a lot to talk about. Some things change, some remain the same. The new character is nice and fits well, while the new weapon feels like an unnecessary addition to me, especially since it will take a lot of work to balance it right, where it's not too strong yet also useful. The new bugs and technical issues need to be ironed out, many of them persist to this moment, and many will likely remain unfixed forever. EA's attitude with political propaganda is sadly not going to change anytime soon, especially since people tend to vote with their wallet, and that vote is in support of this behavior. They need to calm down with the new characters and guns and focus a bit more on new maps. We need more of the new stuff, but we also would like to see some of the really old maps, their first versions, so we can just have some variety again. So is Apex Legends still a good game? Yeah. It's still fun and at its core hasn't lost what made it so much fun in the first place. So while I may be very critical of its many shortcomings, I still enjoy playing it with friends and randoms and can recommend it to even those who have never tried it before. Just don't spend too much money on skins and stuff. Once again, we vote with our wallets and giving them money is an indicator that they are on the right path, which is not the case in some aspects. With all that having been said, thank you all for watching Game Filter. I hope to see you on my next video as well. Until then, have a great day.